to Exposed Urban TV. I'm here with Foti Stamos. We're going to be talking about ordering wine at a restaurant. Foti is a wine advocate. He does a lot of things in the wine industry. He's going to talk about some of that. And then we're going to go into the Turbine Wine Bar wine list. We're here at Turbine Wine Bar shooting live. And Steve Hanley, the owner, will be coming over with some wine in a bit after we figure out how to order off this thing. And then we'll try some of the wine and talk about how to get that done and take some of the anxiety out of it for all of you. So remember to follow us on Twitter at Exposed Urban. And are you on Twitter?
I am.
What is your Twitter handle?
At the Greek Table and also Greek Boston.
All right, and we'll throw those up on the screen as well. So yeah, follow us all on Twitter and get even more information out of us on wine and everything urban. So let's get started. Want to tell us a little bit more about yourself? And
Sure. I basically have been in the wine business for the last 12 years, and I've, at the same token, been in the media business at the same time, so I've been able to cross over through the different industries.
They seem to gel really well.
Lately, yes.
Yeah, wine
absolutely.
And social media seems
It's the way to
a
go
natural
today.
fit. Yeah.
And one of our taglines is wine being the original social media.
Oh, nice.
Right?
I like it.
But what I've come to learn through my experience is that wine has been a product in households, at celebrations, at any type of occasion, and most people feel to this day intimidated.
Yeah.
And there's still a vast amount of people who love to learn about wine. So I've taken it upon myself to try to pick out and choose simple techniques and approaches to understanding wine and at the same token enjoying it.
Some tips and tricks. How do we make that easier on people?
Most restaurants who offer wine will do their part to design a wine list that makes it easy to choose a selection. At the same token, it's up to the restaurant as well to train their staff, whether they have a beverage director or not,
Right.
where they can recommend at the table.
Okay.
If your server does not issue you the appropriate questions on how to make your selection, some things to keep in mind is for that evening, you might know what you're going to have that night for dinner, food, and maybe you're just going in with an open mind looking to see what the menu has to offer.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little. So is it important to pair your wine with your food, and what if you are ordering for the table? You know.
Well, for someone that's an avid drinker,
Yeah.
I think it's great to try to pair your wine with your food.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a newbie or if you're just getting into wine, I think it's more important to order something that you're going to enjoy based on your palate before anything.
Okay.
I've seen way too many experiences or situations where the wine that was chosen because it pairs well doesn't always work for the person that's drinking it.
Okay.
So, having said that, it's also recommended that you should ask your server if you can sample the wine that's being offered.
So let's dive in here. If we're looking at this menu, what are some of the things to look for? Or?
If you notice, every wine list is pretty much categorized into 3 different sections, and usually you start off with your sparkling wines. Usually those are always at the top, and sometimes people ask, well, why are sparkling wines always at the beginning? Usually sparkling wines, which are consisted of champagnes, proseccos, which is Italy's version of champagne or their sparkling wine. Sparkling wine pretty much stimulates your palate. That carbonation in the wine actually gets your taste buds flowing.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a pretty, extensive evening where you don't have to rush anywhere and you can sit back and enjoy dinner, you have the time, I always recommend ordering a glass of sparkling wine to get those juices flowing and your taste buds going. And those are always at the beginning of your wine list. And then you're going to have your whites and your reds that are formatted. Typically, every wine list will actually list the variety that's made of, your vintage, the region, and obviously your price.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I think to look out for is not so much the name of the wine, the producer. Try to look out for the style of wine that's being offered. Sometimes wine lists are designed whether they're in the style of light, medium to full. you want to ask your server that question.
And that's what's going on here, right?
It's usually formatted in that way, from light to fuller, or it jumps around depending on what the wine director or the beverage director wants. Every restaurant might have its own style in presenting the wine list.
Okay.
But that's a good question to ask, is the style of wine that you might be looking for.
Yeah. Okay. How about regions or whatever? I mean, sometimes I tried a Sancerre once in Boston, and that was a Loire Valley
Correct.
wine, right?
Yeah.
So now when I see Loire Valley on
a map,
on a bottle of wine, sometimes I'll try it just based on the experience I had with that region's wine.
Typically, countries like France have a very strict policy and regulation on quality.
Okay.
So most likely, if you're going to order a particular wine that indicates the region it's from, chances are they're pretty consistent. Pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say always.
Okay.
So French wines do a great job with offering quality and consistency.
All right, so let's order something.
Sure.
How do we get that done?
Let's order a white wine. We're both coming out to the restaurant. If white's going to be our choice, but yet, you might think that you're feeling like having, you might think of having something pork, and I think I might want something that's fish. Maybe we can compromise and find something that's in the middle.
Okay.
And I noticed that at Turbine Wine Bar, we have a pretty good selection here. The options, range from Sauvignon Blancs, Pinot Grigios, Riesling Chardonnays, some Italian varieties as well, and Chablis. We have pretty much a pretty vast spectrum here. So we wanted something that's in the middle. I think Chardonnay that's unoaked might be probably the safest bet.
You're picking my favorite wine.
Four Vines.
List. Yeah, Four Vines is a great winemaker, at least from my palate.
Very credible and reputable winemaker. Even though Chardonnay might get a bad rap from one end, and the other side, Chardonnay still is the #1 chosen white wine when it comes to consumption.
All right, so we want to get
so let's try a glass of Four Vines.
All right, we're going to bring Stephen Hanley over and check out this Four Vines Naked Unoaked wine from Santa Barbara.
Yeah. This is the 09 Four Vines Naked Chardonnay.
All right. So anything important about this process here?
Yeah. Notice that it was a screw cap,
Yeah.
which I'm a big fan of, because the seal is pretty much better than the seal of a natural cork. So,
all right, so screw top's not a bad thing anymore.
No, it's to me, I highly recommend it.
Was it ever a bad thing? Is that why it got a bad rap, or just people didn't like? Yeah.
Usually, most wines that were produced in larger formats, like jug wine, used screw caps. So the impression was that all cheap wine is with the screw caps. So that's not the case.
Okay.
But as you saw, the server came over and poured out about an ounce, maybe a little more, which at that point, you should give it a nice swirl, kind of see what you can pick up for aromas. The glass is important too.
Yeah.
The fact that the glass has an inverted top kind of keeps the aromas just circulating in the glass, which I always highly recommend. That's a good choice. I mean, it shows that the restaurant is paying attention to certain details. But if you notice, this unoaked Chardonnay is giving off a lot of nice tropical flavor, tropical aromas. Pleasant.
Very. Very.
Inviting.
No, they say to swish around the wine in your mouth, right? And get the flavors all over the place, except unless it's sparkling, right?
Either or, you can do that too with sparkling. But your tongue has, or your receptors pick up different flavors.
Yeah.
So it's good to swish it around just so you can pick up everything, because wine's going to have an element of sweetness, an element of maybe some bitterness, and if you combine all those flavors, you start to correlate to some other types of products or flavors that are found in other fruits, other vegetation that you hear people saying, "Oh, this reminds me of so and so,"
Yeah.
and then you might think to yourself, "What's he talking about?" I have no idea that tastes like that. But everyone's palate's going to pick up something different. But at this point, we're at we just ordered our bottle of wine or a glass of wine. The server poured about an ounce for us. We're giving it a little bit of a trial period here. If it sits well with us, I would go ahead and let the server say, I'll have a glass of it. Mm-hmm. But you don't always need to commit right away to a full glass if you're skeptical of something. That's why I always recommend asking for a sample first.
Yeah, and don't feel bad if you don't want to order it.
Exactly.
Drink what you like.
Sometimes you never know. The actual wine that you taste that might please you might make you change your mind on what you might want to have for food that night as well. Cool. But yeah, this is a great choice. I like it.
All right. So, is there anything else we wanted to do? You want to talk about the reds a little bit, or is it the same kind of pattern usually?
Same pattern. The reds are here, light to heaviest, or light to fullest. And sometimes people always know what is light body versus medium body. I don't understand that. Some of the simple example I will give is that I try to compare wine's composition to milk. So think of light body wines as being skim milk. Think of medium body wines being maybe whole milk, and think of full body wines being as maybe heavy cream.
Okay.
To kind of give that understanding of what it means when wine is suggested by its body and style.
Makes sense. Yeah, I had noticed. Would you call Merlot a creamier?
I would say Merlot would fall in that medium body category.
Medium?
So
Okay.
whole milk. But then again, don't be surprised don't let the variety indicate the
Sometimes it'll be on one end or
because
the
it all
other,
depends on the winemaker on how they want to make or produce that particular stuff, that wine. Winemakers want to create signatures, and that signature is the way that they're going to produce their wine.
Right. Great. All right. So what other tips and tricks? Anything else?
Tips and tricks.
What about when you're ordering for the table? We didn't really go into like what to think about when there's one bottle being ordered and it's for everybody.
If it's for a large party, and you're trying to order, it's always best to kind of start off the evening with some default wines.
Yeah.
And when I mean default, I mean wines that are probably going to be enjoyed by a larger group, the mass. And when I mean default, when you're ordering white wine, your two best choices to keep it safe, I would say either order a Pinot Grigio and a Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And when it comes to reds, I would either do a Pinot Noir or Merlot.
Okay.
That way you at least cover the different palates.
Yeah.
Ordering wines that you like might not work for the rest of the table.
Right. I was wondering if that would be your recommendation, just to go with something that you like, but no.
Keep it that way, unless you're getting your guests that are actually telling you, well, I like this style, I like that style.
Yeah.
Then I would leave it up to the hands of the server.
Okay.
And let them make the choice for the table, if need be. If you find that the server that you have is not so well versed in the wine department, because that happens sometimes, then I would ask the server to maybe their manager can jump in and help out as well.
Cool. I'll just call you.
Sure.
Yeah.
I should start a phone service.
Jump on Twitter. Help.
Help.
Well, thank you very much. We're actually out of time, but this was great. This gives our viewers a lot of tips and tricks on how to get this done at a restaurant, and hopefully take some of the anxiety out of it and make it a more pleasurable experience for you when you're ordering. We all like to drink it, but sometimes that ordering process can be a little bit overwhelming. So thanks for your help.
My pleasure.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you
here.
for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Remember, follow us on Exposed Urban on Twitter, Exposed Urban, and what was yours again? At the Greek Table?
In Greek Boston.
And Greek Boston. Thank you. We'll see you next week.